How's it going, guys? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting. Welcome back to Riddle Joker. Last time we were here gathering at the pool to try and help Hazuki work on her control, because apparently, while she has great power and ability, she has trouble controlling in certain environments. And we're starting to think, I personally think it's a bit more of a mental thing than anything else, because she has displayed like very fine control. Apparently smaller amounts of water she can control better, but at the same time she also can control a huge amount very precisely, but not all the time. So there's got to be some kind of element there. So we're just trying to help her out, with Ayase also being here with us. So yeah, we're gonna see what we can do. But yeah, we're just kind of further fostering relationships and doing our job to help protect Ayase, and then we'll just see what happens next. But all we're having a lot of fun. So kick back, relax, let's have a good time, just enjoying a good rom-com adventure. You know, I mean, I'm in the mood for some distraction. It's been a long week. I'm ready to sit back and enjoy myself. So hope you guys are as well. Let's see what happens, and yeah, let's jump right in. So before, I'd like to thank you for helping me. Greatly appreciate it. Hazuki, you're just so sweet. Hold off on the thanks for now. We still don't know if we'll be able to help any, if at all.
だとしても、私のために真剣に考えて、時間を割いてくれることが嬉しいんだ。だから、本当にありがとう。
Hey, no need. You've helped out plenty. This is my way of thanking you.
困った時はお互い様ですから。コントロールに関することなら、今後の研究にも役立つ可能性は高いから。ウィンウィンの関係だよ。
Makes sense that Mayu's here as well.
と言っても、私もどこまで力になれるかは分かりませんけど。
Oh, I see. So we had a choice of who we approached, and we followed that story, but we technically approached both of them.
その気持ちが嬉しいんだ。
On that note, Nijon-san was granted permission from the school for today's practice session. They readily approved when she said it was to practice ability control. And considering that having water nearby is quintessential for her ability, they also permitted us to use the pool. Man, and we got the whole pool area to ourselves. I thought for sure there'd be other people here.
ここには水泳部みたいなプールを必要とする部活はないからな。
Interesting. Which is great for us, since we don't have to worry about bothering people. Let's go ahead and get started. You ready, Nijon-san? Wait a minute. Is everyone else ready? Like, shouldn't we all be in swimming suits too? Because, like, this is very liable to get out of hand. I mean, that's kind of the point. We're going to be pushing limits, so we're probably going to be seeing some splash zones. She walks to the pool side, closes her eyes, and starts to focus. Then, without a moment's delay, I feel the same peculiar sensation I felt this morning. Here we go. Water is amassing around Nijon-san. Then, once she's accumulated a sufficient amount, she reopens her eyes. Nothing is any different. A small percentage of water still shot out in every which direction.
やっぱりダメか。でも水流はちゃんと前に行ってるわけですから。
So overall, you accomplish your goal, but like the side effects are definitely odd.
それに空気中からではなく、水をそのまま操作する場合は、そんな風には飛び散らないんですよね。
Interesting. Maybe Ayase is implying that it's the way that we, like, since it's gathered out of the air, maybe it's like trying, like when she releases it, it's like we're trying to partially release back where she got it?
そうだな。水を集めるのと、その水の操作を連続して行わなければ、こんな風にはならない。
Ah. How does your ability work, Mitsukasa-san?
私ですか?
Is there anything in particular you tried not to do when you create an attractive force with a repulsive force?
ごめんなさい。アドバイスできるようなことは特にはないと思います。
Remember last time he did a great analogy of saying like using an astral ability is like using an arm. Like, and it like, can you describe to somebody else how to move their arm? It's like, how could you do that? You kind of would just have to say, you know, maybe like say flex your muscles and move them, but like again, you can't tell them like how to do that. It's not like you have controls that you can teach somebody. It's like you just say do it and they have to just do it.
例えるなら手で何かを押したり引いたりを繰り返す、そんな感じでしょうか。
Okay.
切り替えに少し手間取ることはあっても扱いきれないことはありません。そうか、残念だ。やはり私のコントロールが甘いということなんだろうな。 決めつけるのは早計だと思いますが。
Yeah, we've only just started.
二条院さんの場合、能力を使用するときはどんな感じなんですか？
Yeah.
私の場合は、そうだな。片方のスイッチをオフにして、もう片方をオンにするような。
Maybe she's so to me it's sounding a lot like a vacuum cleaner where it has the ability to suck inward but also to expel. Like I'm talking about a shop vac, for instance. Like you can reverse it to make it so that it's blasting air out rather than sucking air in with a switch. But trying to have something that's sucking and like blasting, well, I guess a vacuum kind of does that, but it's not the same. Like trying to have like a dual valve system where one side is sucking, the other side is blowing, it would be very difficult. You could manage it, but then it also kind of would bring this kind of futility to the whole exercise where like partially stuff would be trying to fly in and then stuff would also be trying to be pushed out. And so it would just kind of defeat itself.
出力の調整ではなく、完全に切り替えるということですか？
So it almost sounds like you technically have two distinct abilities that just happen to have like a correlation. You can't mentally do both with the same function.
それはちょっと難しいな。それは変化させたアストラルをさらに変化させることはできないからだろうね。
Oh.
どういうことです？いいかい？能力者はアストラルの状態を変化させることで超常的な現象を引き起こす。でも変化させられるのはニュートラル状態のアストラルだけなのさ。
Okay. So they're going along the lines of polarization, very similar to magnetism, for instance. So a good way to think about this is like, imagine iron filings. I don't know if you've ever seen those videos of like iron filings, like just little shavings of iron and how they stick to a magnet, like all like spear-like. Or you can even imagine like the liquid form where you have like finely shaved iron mixed into a viscous like fluid, like oil. And then how it manipulates and like kind of morphs the oil in a liquidy pattern. It looks really, really cool. If you've never looked at that, like, I highly recommend you check out videos of it. But one thing that's interesting about magnets. So when you have a magnet, which is essentially like ionic polarized pieces of a metal that are all in line so that all their magnetic poles feed into one another. So like all the norths are pointed one direction, all the souths are pointed another, and it generates a field where their influence as a whole is far greater than any one of them by itself. So like it grows into a bubble of influence, which is really interesting because it's like it makes sense. Like I was trying to think of an analogy for it. I don't think I need to explain that. It makes sense. It's an interesting phenomena if you really start looking at the physics of it, but I don't know if I want to get into that detail yet because it's going to be it'd be a bit too tangential to what I want to talk about. So you got lots of different particles together that are in proper alignment, then they exude a bubble of force, a magnetic bubble field of force. When iron, which normally is very mishmashed, especially when you have a bunch of different shavings. They all have poles, but inside of them, all the particles are in all these different directions. So they have no real magnetic pole. Like they have tiny infinitesimal amounts, but it's not really a bubble because they're not aligned. But then when the metal comes into a magnetic field, the magnetic field is strong enough, it actually orients those particles to face the proper direction, allowing them to also effectively form in tandem with that magnetic field and kind of join to it. So when you have iron filings sticking to a magnet, those iron filings are now in alignment and exuding their own magnetic field because they've been properly aligned and polarized. In fact, if you stick a piece of magnetic material to a magnet and then pull it away, it'll actually stay more magnetized on its own than it was when you first started. Eventually, it will start to destabilize because most materials, unless they've been like really heavily charged, won't maintain their magnetic structure like organically, like for over long term. But you can now synthesize and make magnets that are super strong because we can force them to kind of be in line like we want them to and make them more likely to stay that way. But anyway, so one thing that's really interesting is that once something has become magnetized and has that magnetic field, it becomes very difficult to unmagnetize it once it's in that state. So once something is a magnet, if you break it in half, it's not like you have two fractured magnets. Now you just have two smaller magnets because they're still in alignment. So these Astron particles are like that. They get charged when an astral starts using their ability. When they become charged, they're in a state, they're polarized. Once they're polarized, you can no longer repolarize them. Now the nice thing is that magnetism is kind of binary, and it's like positive and negative ends, like plus minus, like that's just how it works. Astrons are obviously much more complicated. They can be bowled into any different configuration and have myriad effects. But you can't charge them simultaneously with different effects, different abilities. That would be like trying to say, like, this is the magnet that is north and south polarized and east-west polarized at the same time. It doesn't work. The charges would not align that way. That's just not how the physical limitations of particle and matter as we understand it could be arranged. It makes an interesting idea of like what you could potentially have if you had multiple polarization options. But that's not a thing that we currently understand or believe in. I mean, the universe is big, who knows? But the short of the matter is that's kind of what they're saying. It makes me, however, wonder when two people with Astron abilities are fighting, can they consume too much of the Astrons around each other and nullify each other's effects somewhat, or diminish them simply because the Astrons cannot be pulled in two different directions between two different Astron projections? So that makes a really interesting question. We haven't really seen two Astrals fighting per se, and the times we have, it's been a lot more contained. So I'm really curious to see if that's ever going to come up. Can two people who are both burning their astral abilities and have similar fields of effect with their astral abilities nullify each other's abilities and kind of level that playing ground a bit if they start to clash? Very interesting stuff. So if I got this right, she has to link twice for her ability. Once when accumulating the water, and again when moving it. We classify her ability as a water manipulation ability, but not all the possible manipulations are the same. But wait, wouldn't that mean...
そっか。何か分かったんですか?
Yeah, it's kind of what I said before. It sounds like she has multiple abilities, not just one ability with different functions. Like, it seems like they wouldn't clash if it was just the same thing. Well, this is just a theory, but it might be that her control isn't the issue. The two types of Astrons are just creating an interference with one another.
その可能性は高いと思うよ。すみません。もう少し詳しくお願いできますか?
I think the big thing you need to do is just compartmentalize. Can't you first focus on gathering the water and then stop gathering and then push it? You just have to fluidly move one into the other.
二条院さんは最初に周囲の空気から水分を取り出すようにアストラルを変化させる。仮にこのアストラルが二条院さんの体を中心にして球状に広がっていくとしよう。はい。集めた水の操作をするために別のアストラルを変化させる必要がある。この時、二条院さんの周囲には水を集めるのと水を操るの2種類のアストラルが存在することにならない？そうなりますね。水を集めるアストラルが周囲に残っているせいで、操作している水すら無理やり引き寄せる。
Right, so it's like in the wake of her trying to do both, she has Astrons that are effectively undoing her work.
だから一部の水が飛び散るわけで、いくら範囲を狭めても周囲のアストラルの干渉がなくなるわけじゃない。範囲を狭めるのではなく、限定させることに意味があるんじゃないかと。
Okay, so if instead of limiting it, she's saying like make a mental picture of like two bubbles per se. A larger bubble that's about accumulating water to her, and then a small bubble that's control only.
おや？もしかして分かりづらかったかな？私こういう時にすぐ早口になっちゃうから。いえ、そんなことはありません。十分分かりやすかったです。
If you can't tell, I'm such a geek for this kind of stuff. I love just learning how systems work and then trying to think of creative ways to exploit them and like manipulate them. So yeah, it's been a very rambly first part so far, but I've really had fun already.
黙っていたのは単純に目から鱗が落ちたからです。そうか。アストラル同士の干渉か。
This is why research is important and why collaboration is important.
それなら水を集める空間を限定すれば干渉は起きないかもしれませんね。
I guess the best place to practice would be above her head or behind her?
まだ仮説の段階だから 間違っている可能性の方も高いんだけど。
Well, enough talk. Have her try it. And I think behind her is a good idea. She's planning on shooting it forward, then collecting water behind her and then flinging it forward. Then she becomes like this kind of like a funnel, almost like a water rail gun. That actually sounds like it could not only be like work, but it might actually be a lot more effective.
だが闇雲に試すよりも価値はあります。
But you can't imagine it as two two halves of a sphere. Like what you actually imagine is an hourglass shape, because you want to make sure the Astrons aren't interfering with each other. So you want to have, it's almost like a funnel behind that comes into a focal point, which is her, and then an outward cone of like her influence of like firing. It makes her like a cannon blaster.
と言っても空間を限定するなんて器用な真似できるかどうか。
I think you can.
あまり自信はないですが、とにかくやってみます。
I imagine this is something that would just be more about application and exercise, like of her ability. She then turns to the pool again and focuses her attention on it. Come on.
想像以上に難しいな。空間の限定はどうしても意識が全体的に広がってしまうような感じが。
Hazuki, it's because that's the way you've always done it. This is, you're essentially trying to say like you're trying to move a muscle in a way that you've never moved it before. It's not going to be easy at first.
そこら辺はあくまで個人の感覚だから。
You probably need to focus your consciousness on the area you want to accumulate, but the tricky question is how.
慣れるまではその空間を視界に収めてみるのはどうですか？規模もある程度小さくしてなるべく制御に集中してみた方がいいよ。なるほど。
That's a lot. This actually really reminded me a lot of the magic system that's in like the Name of the Wind. The idea of like how it's called sympathetic. It's called sympathy. It's this idea of like essentially channeling energy from one sect to another, and the caster are just a bridge for that energy. But you have to be able to kind of provide a mental link between different states. So like taking heat from fire, gathering it to your core, translating it to light, and then having it emit out of a flashlight, like a magical flashlight. But the thing is, it's like each part is something you had to control individually. Like you can't just like make it flow. They each require concentration, and so the character had to develop this ability to splinter his mind by practicing, allowing his mind to focus on multiple things at the same time intently, because it takes a lot of concentration, because the two pieces of that channel, taking the heat energy from a candle fire and then turning it in, and then kind of like transmuting it into malleable energy, and then taking the malleable energy and transforming it into light. Each of those those parts took mental concentration of their own, so you had to be able to do simultaneous parallel thinking in a way. It was really interesting how he described it in the book. It sounds horrifically insane. Like I just don't think it's actually real, like really something you could do, but who knows, maybe it sounds like somebody talented might be able to do. She directs her gaze upward at the ceiling and continues. Water is beginning to accumulate around her, albeit in tiny amounts. The sensation I've always felt when she uses her ability is also significantly absent. Oh. Once she gathers around half the volume as her previous attempt, she looks straight in front of her. Oh! Some of the water bullets forward, some of it also scatters, but not uniformly in all directions. A tiny amount of water was drawn upward. That's it. Quite different from the phenomena from before. So she was able to do it, essentially.
やはり難しいな。
Hazuki! Come on! This is exciting! You've just proven it's possible! All you need to do now is practice!
でも明らかに飛び散る水の量は減ったと思います。
God, if I was that, I'd be like wanting to dance in place. I'd probably be like grabbing her hand. I'd be like, you did amazing! Look at that!
それに全体的に飛び散るんじゃなく、あくまで上に吸い寄せられてただけだよ。
Yeah, that's good.
そんな風に見えたか？私の思い込みや勘違いではなく？
No, that's a huge step. That means we're definitely on the right track here. That's such a big deal.
はい、見えました。嘘じゃないよ。最初の時とは全然違う。そっか。見間違いや気のせいじゃないのか。
And this is why you want friends to be able to help you. Yeah! Congratulations, Nijon-san. You did it!
あ、いや、まだまだだ。
もっと鍛錬を積んでしっかりコントロールしないと。
We have the pool for an hour. How about you use me as target practice? I would absolutely volunteer. I'd be like, I'm just gonna do some like, I'm gonna do some like kind of like dodgeball type maneuvers on the side, or even maybe in the pool, and be like, hey, try and be able to funnel the water and fire it at me without scattering. But she can't hide her inner feelings.
今後も練習あるのみだな。
Yeah. Yes. The corners of her lip curved into a most natural smile.
これでちゃんと力を使うことができれば、もうスプリンクラーなんて呼ばせないぞ。
Only in jest.
希望が見えた。これからも鍛錬を続けて制御してみせるぞ。
Aww, she's so cute.
いや、気を抜くのは良くないな。しっかりしないと。よし。
I mean, I understand the importance of not letting yourself get complacent, but still, you can still be happy after you accomplish something. Nobody's gonna tell you you can't.
そうですね。素直に喜びを表に出していいと思いますよ。
I would be sprinting in circles, pumping in the air. I've already been pumping in the air. I'm stoked. I'm not even the person.
それは、いや、しかし。
ちゃんと喜びをあらわにしておいた方が明日から頑張れるんじゃない？
Oh yeah. You heard them, so smile.
そういうものか。いや、そういうものかもしれないな。
Yeah.
3人がいてくれたから見えた希望だ。それなら今日はそのアドバイスに従わせてもらおうかな。
Hazuki, I appreciate it, but do it for yourself.
やった。やった。
Yeah. Ijo-san hops up and down elated like a small child. Good. Must have been rough on her having to endure all the teasing comments and nicknames. Reminds me of a certain something, actually.
みんなの協力のおかげだ。本当にありがとう。
いえ、そんな私は役に立ててませんから。
Oh, no, no, no. It was definitely a collaborative effort. I think it needed all of us. Oh, actually, if anything, I think we were the least important, except for the fact that we, put this together.
あれは話の流れでふと思ったことさ。三笠さんがいなかったらきっと気づけなかったよ。
I agree.
やはりみんながいてくれたからということだ。感謝してもしきれない。このお礼はいつか必ず。
Nah, it's fine. You don't have to do anything.
私のことも気にしないでいいよ。今回の結果は研究に役立ちそうだから。私も必要ありません。友達の力になれたのならそれだけで幸せです。
Aww.
何か？
Nope. Dang, I know it's bad, but now that I know the real Mitsukazu-san, everything she says in this mode sounds fake to me. That's true, it's kind of bothersome, but...
今日は本当にありがとう。
Oh yeah, you thanked us enough now.
二条院さんの気持ちは伝わってます。もう十分すぎるぐらいです。そうだよ。本当に気にしないでいいから。
I'd be like, in fact, let's celebrate. Let's go get ice cream.
私としては感謝してもしきれないんだが、いや、わかった。しつこくして困らせても仕方ないしな。ただ頼みがある。
Sure, what do you need?
ちゃんとコントロールできるようになったら、その時にはまたみんなに見てほしいんだ。
そういうことならもちろん構いませんよ。お待ちしてます。
Even if it takes as long as me being 80 years old, I'll show up.
いつでも付き合うよ。
I'm sure you'll get there before you know it.
あ、
A little bit later, we're approached by a man as we're on our way to the dorm.
お嬢ちゃん。
警備のおじさん、こんな時間にどうしたんです？
ああ、セキュリティのチェックだ。ようやく機材が整ったから体制を強化したんだ。今はそのチェックの最中なんだよ。
Looks like we got some scouting to do tomorrow.
そうなんですか？それじゃあ私はお役ごめんですか？
そんな気になる言い方をしないでくれよ。お嬢ちゃんが悪いとか問題があったわけじゃないんだから。
Good, good.
これが本来の形なんだぞ。
でも残念です。
誰かの役に立つってやつかい？それは大人になってからでいいじゃないか。お嬢ちゃんは学生なんだから。 今は青春を送って卒業したら存分に役立てればいい。
He's right. I mean, she should try and enjoy herself.
わかりました。
今まで悪かったな。夜に付き合わせてしっかり寝るんだぞ。
Yeah.
はい。
After finishing, the security guy takes his leave.
今のは
警備の方です。例の侵入者の後、セキュリティを強化するまでの間、私が手伝っていたんです。
すみません、私のせいで。
何を言うんだ。三笠さんは被害者じゃないか。何も悪くない。それに、警備の仕事をするのは、私が望んだことでもある。気にしないでくれ。
So those water threads of hers won't be lying around anymore. Moving around at night has all of a sudden become a lot easier. I still need to scout out all the new security systems first. Guess I'll pass along the info to Nanami and have her look into it. Back to work, it seems.
リドルジョーカー。
そうか。年相応の学生生活を過ごしているようで何よりだ。なんだかお前の目が生き生きとキラキラしてきた気さえするぞ。
Oh, excuse me. Well, I'm living a pretty healthy lifestyle over here.
そこに関しては親としては恥ずかしいと思ってはいる。本当にすまないな。
Oh, come on. I was making my own. I'm practically an adult. I can make my own choices. It's fine. I was the one who chose to. But yeah, that concludes my report. There's no major problems at the present. I'm living just like an average school student.
ちなみに、その生活は楽しいか？
Yeah. I guess I do enjoy myself a fair bit.
そうか。そいつは何より。ああ、本心からそう思っている。
Well, I can't relax too much. That would be bad. You've got a mission for us, right?
すまんが任務だ。
Ah. Hearing that, I immediately get serious. You want us to check something in the AIMS database?
鎌倉久人、飛鳥井環奈、この二人について調べてほしい。
Kamakura Hisato and Asukai Kana. What do you want the info by?
のんびりされると困るが、期限を設けるつもりはない。
So, ASAP.
セキュリティ体制の変更も終了したんだろ？こっちで調べる限りでは、防犯カメラやセンサーが新しく搬入されていたようだが。
Actually, no, it wouldn't be ASAP. That would be like get it now. It'd be ASAR, as soon as reasonable. That's what I was saying. ASAR. Right, I believe they eliminated most of the camera blind spots now, so we'll have to be a lot more careful sneaking around.
しっかり調べ上げて安全に動ける状態を作れ。調査はそれからで問題ない。潜入の事実に気づかれないように、まずはそれを第一に考えてくれ。調べる相手の名前はちゃんと覚えたな。
Not me, but I'm sure he has. Yep. Kamakura Hisato and Asukai Kana.
二人の所在、所属、今どこにいるかヒントになりそうなものを調べてほしい。
Copy that.
例のカードキーはなくしてはないだろうな。
Of course. He's referring to the one infused with Mayu-senpai's Astrons. As you may recall, we used a memory fiber gel sheet to fool the sensor when we first broke into her lab. After that, we sent the sheet to the SFD before the Astrons could dissipate. They then analyzed it and produced a keycard. Thanks to that, we no longer have to stick memory fiber directly to Mayu-senpai. Words cannot express how glad I am. We only went through that process once, and that was already hell enough. Having to do it every single time? We want to check the database? God, I have a headache just thinking about it. We'll get that info to you soon.
頼んだぞ。
I end the call and swap the special SIM card to my normal one. Alright, time for breakfast. Kyohei, you have a dragon in your stomach. The bells chime and Kyohei's stomach cries. Then, as he always does when lunch comes, he staggers over to my desk.
サトル、お昼食べに行こうよ。
Sure.
今日はどこの寮で食べようか。
How about something different today? I'm kind of feeling somewhere different today.
そっか。じゃあどこがいいかな。
You're coming with me? You don't have to, you know. I know none of the other dorms serve enough food to fill you.
何を寂しいこと言ってるんだ。そんな変な気遣いいらないから。
I'm not pushing you away.
サトルって
友達少ない方でしょ。
Well, not really. What does that have to do with this, though?
大ありだよ。そうやって遠慮されるとこっちも遠慮しちゃって距離を作っちゃうじゃないか。もちろんゴリ押しは良くないけどね。そこまで遠慮されると友達としては悲しい。
Aww.
というかもしかして友達って思ってるのは僕だけ？
No. No, you aren't. You made my transition to life here a lot easier, so consider you a good friend.
よかった。友達同士なら変な遠慮はしない。
Okay, then a different dorm it is.
ああ。にしてもどこに行こうかな。
No idea. I'm just trying to eat some good food, but that doesn't help because they're all probably have good food.
基本的にはメニューなんかで差があるだけで味はどこでも満足できるはずさ。
Okay, then in that case...
先
What?
輩。
Kyohei and I turn around to find Mibu-san waving her hand at us, and Nanami standing next to her.
こんにちは。
Hey, Nanami.
こんにちは。二人もこれから昼食会？
真面目に授業を受けてたらお腹空いちゃって、もうペコペコですよ。
You sound like someone I know. What do you guys eat? What do you guys usually eat, Nanami?
よく行くのは第4寮だよ。バゲットがすごく美味しいの。 外はしっかり、中はもちもち。噛むたびに味わいが広がって、香りも良くって、癖になっちゃうぐらい。
Wow, that's some high praise there.
サトルくんはいつもどこで食べてるの？
Dorm 3 pretty much every day.
ああ、男の人ですもんね。やっぱり量がある方が嬉しいですよね。
I don't know, man. This guy's an animal. Kyohei is. Me, not so much. Get this. He'll order multiple extra large meals and scarf those things down like they're nothing. Anything less and he won't be full.
特盛りを？それはすごい。
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's not human.
みんなそうやって驚くけど、男ならあれぐらいは
No,
誰だって食べられるよ。
no, they can't. And a lot of those people are guys.
じゃあ、今日も第3寮で食べるの？
Well, we were actually thinking of trying someplace new today.
どこに行くかはまだ決めてないんだけどね。
それじゃあ、私たちと一緒に食べます？
Sounds good to me.
第4寮か。そうだね。たまにはそれもありかも。あそこは女の子が多いから、その雰囲気のせいか男だけだとなかなか入りづらいんだよね。
Would anyone care though? Sweet, guess we're eating with them.
ななみちゃんもいい？僕らが一緒でも。
はい、大丈夫です。
ありがとう。
Our 4-person group then walks in the direction of dorm 4. I walk next to Nanami and lean in to talk with her. You're really changing, you know?
何が？
You didn't get too flustered when Kyohei asked you about coming along. Looks like you're getting over your shyness some. I can still tell you were a bit nervous, but you're making progress. And as your big brother, I'm proud of you.
何それ？失礼なこと言わないでくれないかな。
I'm not being mad, give head pats.
私の人見知りがそう簡単に治るわけないよ。あまり侮らないでくれる？
Fair, okay, fair. Social anxiety is nothing to be laughed at, but you're making progress, and that's what matters. You sound like you're proud of that or something.
それよりも、
She leans in close and lowers her voice to a whisper.
変更されたセキュリティのことなんだけど。
You find something?
ああ、違うよ。その逆。私が調べられる範疇では、特に変わった様子はなさそう。多少センサーが増えたりもしてるみたいだけど、後者の方は別段強化されてなさそう。
Oh, so will our normal routes work? Great for us.
サトルくんの方は何か分かった？
Pretty much, yeah. There are a tad more security cameras, but that won't be an issue. I think they're mainly trying to prevent outsiders from getting in.
それならすぐにでも動けそうかな。
Good. We don't want to get too impatient, but yeah, tonight should work.
分かった。それじゃあ私も準備しておくね。
I'll run another more thorough check of the security, then after that we can decide for certain if we want to. But we can worry about that later. Let's just relax and enjoy our lunch break for now. Sounds like we're going to do our second mission soon. It's the first time visiting the dorm's canteen, but it looks almost identical to the others. Guess that's on purpose. The design is nothing new, but the menu on the other hand is strikingly different. They serve things like pasta and al jalio. This place almost feels more like a fancy restaurant than a school cafeteria. Sounds very Western. I can see why girls prefer this dorm canteen. That being said, they still do have some more meaty options like Hamburg steak. That's what I got. Really. Yeah, and the side that came in was none other than one of the legendary baguettes that Nanami said were to die for. Oh, this is really good. Crispy on the outside, soft on the inside, has a nice flavorful wheat taste to it. This might be the best baguette I've ever eaten.
確かに美味しいんだけどね。
Kyohei.
スオ先輩は何かご不満が？
Probably not enough for him.
それもあるけど、味付けかな。僕はガツンとパンチのある味が好きだから。
So you like food that tries to take you out.
ああ、不満ってわけじゃないよ。美味しいし、普段来づらいから誘ってくれて嬉しかった。
You know, it's actually kind of funny because, like, I'm kind of a big flavors person as well, but I've also become more sensitive to my palate. I had like, as many of you probably know, I've lost a lot of weight in the last few years, and a big part of that's been a big change in diet. I'm not perfect, but I've had a very heavy shift in what I eat and the amounts I eat, which means that my palate's actually a lot stronger. I notice flavors a lot more, and sweets have a much more profound effect on me. A little bit of sugar goes a long way nowadays. So whilst I still like flavor that punches you in the mouth, it doesn't need as much to punch me in the mouth. So it's really kind of nice. One thing I have changed is my spice palette. I've always loved Asian food and Asian style cooking, but one thing I always struggled with was the heat. It used to give me a lot of acid reflux, and I used to just not like it. So like, how going to a traditional Asian restaurant, you know, like even in America, like when you find like the more naturalized ones, the mild ones are still pretty spicy. And I was like, you know what, my dream is to go to Japan and someday. I'd love to travel to Taiwan and like South Korea and other places too. But if I go and I want to try real cuisine, a lot of it's going to be a lot spicier than I'm used to. And now I don't get acid reflux anymore. I kind of started thinking to myself, I was like, you know what? There's a lot of spicy food I want to enjoy. And so I'm going to push myself. So I actually started pushing on my spice palette. I found a store that sells a range of hot sauces, like across the spectrum from super mild to like ghost pepper, reaper, super death, triple X spice peppers, you know? Like now we feast levels of spice. And so I started towards the bottom and grabbed something that I felt like you can do taste tests. I found something that like kicked my butt a bit, took it home, and started eating it with my food until I got used to it and found that I actually enjoyed it. Then when I ran out, I went to the store and got a little bottle of something further up the list. Kicked my butt, but I got used to it and worked its way up. I am now have in my fridge, I've almost finished, a bottle of ghost pepper extract sauce that I find to be absolutely delicious, and it's super hot, but I've gotten used to it now. In fact, I have sitting on my shelf ready to go the First We Feast, like I can't remember what they're called, like the show, like now First We Feast, like the show where they do the hot wings, like they have like the really, really hot sauce, like the ones like the 2.5 million Scoville sauce. I've got that waiting upstairs for me to try next. It's one of the top most spicy things that you can get on the market besides like pure just heat extract, which there's no point in that. I want something with flavor. But like once I can conquer that, I should be fine. I should be great. I'm excited to go to Asia and try real, authentic, spicy Asian food because I think I'm going to be able to handle it. And I'm really excited about that. So that's a personal bragging thing for me.
それならよかったです。サトルくんはこの量だといつもより少ないと思うけど、少し足りないんじゃない？
I guess. I'll have a little more room left in my stomach, but not enough to order more.
しょうがないな。
Dessert? Oh.
私のを分けてあげる。空腹で授業に集中できなくなると困るしね。
First of all, you're giving me celery? I'm not being picky here, but you're giving me celery. But how can you turn down a cute... She's just adorable. They're really selling the sister route here.
はい。どうかした？まだ足りないんでしょ？遠慮なんてしなくていいよ。
Could you just give me the fork? She tilts her head quizzically. On the fork she's holding out to me is a piece of celery from the salad that came with her meal. Nanami, please. You're just trying to get rid of the vegetables so you won't eat them, aren't you? I love that face.
何言ってるの、サトルくん。兄に対する妹の気持ちを疑るなんて良くないよ。
Look, I know you, Nanami. You hate celery. Just eat it, okay? It won't kill you.
どうしてもあの味も匂いも好きになれないんだもん。
Well, I agree if it's by itself. Yeah, I can't stand the stuff either. But if you have it in like a salad sauce of some kind, it's usually fine and it's really healthy for you.
でも残すのも申し訳ないから。
Wasting food isn't bad. That's a paradox that got me in the position where I needed to get extra help for weight loss. It is perfectly fine to throw away food. It's not great, obviously, for like the world, like, oh, like people starve around the world, yes. But you don't need to be killing yourself by eating food you're not really hungry for because you don't want to throw it away. You should stop eating when you feel done, and you should throw it away if you need to. Ideally, you get better at like picking portion sizes that are suited to your actual stomach needs rather than you're just, filling a plate with your eyeballs, not your stomach. But especially in a school where they're setting it up for you, just throw it out if you don't want to eat it. Don't feel like you have to clean your plate. It's a fallacy that a lot of us were taught as kids, and it's a bad thing. That's not an excuse for someone else to use someone else's mouth as your garbage disposal.
お兄ちゃん。
Oh, you're making this difficult. She stares at me like an abandoned puppy in the rain. Fine, but only because you're my little sister and I love you.
ありがとう。はい。
Don't look down on me like that. Just like it was pickled in vinegar? Why can't she eat this? It's not bitter. In fact, it's really good. What? She's my sister. It's fine. Why are you staring at me like that?
ちょろいな。先輩ってナナミちゃんにダダーマなんですね。
She's my sister.
まさかサトルがシスコンだったとは。
How dare you say that? What's so sinful about loving your sister?
いやー、今のは完全にシスコンだったよ。
ナナミちゃんもあんな態度を取りながらも兄弟二人きりの時はあんな風に甘えてるんだね。違うもん。二人きりだってあんな風に甘えてるわけじゃないもん。今のだって甘えたわけじゃなくて、私がサトルくんを手のひらの上でコロコロ転がしてただけだもん。
Ah, your true colors.
そんな風には見えなかったけどな。なんか甘え慣れてる感じがしたよ。
Chisaki, please.
そんなことないもん。もうサトルくんのバカ、すごく恥ずかしいところ見られちゃったじゃない。
Pot calling kettle. We're both in the same boat here. You can't make this all about me every time. You sure about that? I think your own actions are what they're teasing you about. If anyone's victim here, it's me. You dragged me into this mess, and now I'm getting slandered and called a siscon.
いや、言っておくけど、サトルくんはシスコン扱いされても仕方ないからね。
I said explicitly from the beginning I'm not. And we're technically not blood related, so there's a precedent. Not that I accept that, but it could be accepted.
たまに私もこの人キモいなーって本気で思ってるからね。
What? I always thought she was joking. This really hurts.
でも本当に仲がいい。いつもそんな風に嫌いなものをお兄ちゃんに食べてもらってたのかな？そんなことしてないよ。嫌いなものが食卓に並ぶことなんてないんだから。
Because she used to make a lot of the food. For good reason. You always cooked. Why would you put stuff you didn't like?
そうなの？ナナミちゃんが？
That and pretty much everything else. Cleaning, laundry, you name it.
じゃあ、ナナミちゃんは料理上手なんだ。特に上手ってほどでもないけど。
Don't listen to her. She's a master chef straight up. She can cook better food than your average restaurant.
ちょっとサトルくん。
何か得意料理とかあるの？もしくはサトルが一番好きな料理とか。
Everything she makes is beyond exquisite, and she does the housework better than any professional housekeeper. She'd be the dream wife of any man, but she's mine right now, so I'm not letting her go anytime soon. Okay, that
サトルくん
that was cute, but it does really is starting to sound a little sus.
キモいよ。そういうところがシスコンっぽいって言ってるの。
She's right. Ouch, that stung.
でもそこまで褒めてもらえるなんてすごいと思うな。
She's a great cook now, but boy, you should have seen how bad she was at first. Burning stuff to a crisp, taking it out half raw at times, making miso soup but forgetting to prepare the broth, using way too much water when cooking rice. The list goes on.
へえ、そこから頑張って努力したんだね。
それはだって失敗しててもサトルくんは全部食べちゃうんです。
Of course. What, you think I'm gonna make food myself? Ha!
一回半生のものを平らげてお腹を壊しちゃったこともあったので。
It was probably chicken. He's lucky he didn't die. Yeah, I remember that. That was a disaster.
上達せざるを得なかったわけか。
つまりお兄さんへの愛が料理の腕を上達させたんだね。そんなのじゃないってば。兄弟なのに愛とか普通にキモいから。おやおや、私が言ってるのは家族愛だよ。
お
ななみちゃんってば一体何を想像しちゃったの？
She's got you there.
別に私は何も想像なんてしてないもん。ちさきちゃんの意地悪。ごめんごめん、もう意地悪しないってば。謝るから機会があったらななみちゃんの料理を食べさせてね。何を食べたいかちゃんと指定してくれるなら。ありがとう、ななみちゃん。苦しいよ、ちさきちゃん。
Aww. Mibu-san was so overcome with joy that she latched on to Nanami and gave her a big old hug. Despite the awkward expression on Nanami's face, she seems to be fine with it. She's a shy girl, but by no means is she antisocial. She can get pretty lonely at times, so honestly, I'm relieved that she has such an outgoing person like Mibu-san to be her friend.
その時はぜひ僕にも声をかけてほしいな。興味ある。
なんだかハードルがすっごく高くなってる気がする。そういうのは苦手だな。
Just cook like you always do, you'll be fine.
そうだといいけど。もしご飯作ったらサトルくんも食べたい？
Would you want me to? I mean, I don't want to cause you excessive more stress, but I'd always be down. Sure, why not? It's been a while since I've had your home cooking, so make sure to invite me when this happens.
そっか。仕方ないな。サトルくんがそんなに言うなら食べさせてあげないこともないよ。
Oh yeah, because I was totally twisting your arm there. Oh, thanks. But before that, we got a job to do. Alright, now this isn't ideal. Part of me wants to go longer because I did ramble a lot in this one, but if I go too much longer, it's going to go over the time I usually like to make these episodes, and this is a really good stopping point, so we're going to go ahead and end it here. Whew, that was adorable. All right, so we learned a lot about Astrons and like how like the science and the science of it works. But I do like how like a lot of writers, they've leaned a lot towards real physical laws in order to try and establish a rule set system for their abilities. Again, I'd love to know more about how when two Astrons fight, like do they affect each other's abilities because there's only so many Astron particles around them that they're technically sharing and polarizing on their own. It'd be really interesting to explore, and I almost wonder if they're setting it up for that because it's going to a lot of effort to explain how these systems work. A good writer knows that like when you bring something up, it's something to be utilized later as part of the storytelling. It doesn't always have to be. Sometimes it can be something that's like casually referenced but not like thoroughly explored, but is like an actual conceptual idea. Again, it just depends on the storytelling, but I'm really interested in that kind of stuff. I just find it really fascinating. I think it's a really cool way to explore space and the mental creativity of an area. That's why I've always been a big fan in the fantasy worlds of the more hard magic system, something that has like consistent, explained, and like understandable rules, rather than like the stuff you see in Lord of the Rings, which is very much more vague and impressionable and kind of like needs, musts, like we don't understand the limits. Like Gandalf's example, like we know he has magic, but his abilities aren't ever explained, nor do we know the capabilities and limitations he has other than what he says he can and cannot do. Whereas in stuff like Mistborn, Stormlight Archive, Name of the Wind, these are systems of magic that there is a very strong foundational understanding, and a lot of the more interesting aspects of the magic isn't so much in how the magic works, it's how the magic is applied using interesting and roundabout logic to find new and exciting ways to interpret what these abilities are capable of. And that's always really exciting to me because, again, it reminds me of science, and I'm a huge fan of just science and real life application of processes. I mean, could you imagine trying to explain to somebody back in like the 1920s when electricity was first starting to become an actual thing and first starting to become utilized by the public space, what we can do now with cars, with electric Tesla vehicles, well, maybe not Tesla vehicles, but electric vehicles in general, or explaining to somebody in like 1920 that in 40 years we'd be putting men on the moon. 40 years. Like, isn't that kind of insane? Like, that's half a lifespan of a person. Somebody who was born in the 20s when electricity first was being like modernized into society would be an adult with like kids in high school watching Neil Armstrong land on the moon. That's such a cool thing to know. And like, it makes it exciting. Like, what are the possibilities with this? Like, how could you modernize science using Astron abilities, you know, when you have it as a new resource? It's just it's a fundamental scape to go through, so I love it. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being around here today. Thank you for listening to my rambly self this time. I hope you enjoyed that. Some people say it's the reason they come to the channel. I'm sure there's a lot of people's reasons why they leave and never come back, but I hope you enjoy it because it's kind of what I bring to the table, my excitement and passion and enjoyment of these stories and the fictions that they tell. I think it's really intriguing, and I think the writing of this story has been really solid so far. Thank you for spending the time with me. It means the world. It really helps make the channel what it is. It helps it grow and become stronger and just makes this community even more, you know, lush and exciting and like dynamic. So thank you so much. Even if you're more of a lurker and I never hear from you in the comments or anything, like, I still appreciate you being here. I'm especially appreciative to the patrons who, of course, you know, help make all this possible and are helping me to foster and forge new content to be made in the future. It's just such a wonderful thing to be a part of. And so I'm grateful for all of that. I hope you guys are having a great rest of your day. I hope you guys are having a fun time being a part of this channel and being a part of just this grand experiment. It's wonderful. I hope you guys are having a great day, and until the next video, watch me up. See me next. I'll see you there.